This is cloud study number 3, and I'm going to be painting this cloud, which has a really cool silver lining effect. It's backlit, and it also has some of these really cool rays coming off of it, so I'm going to try to capture that in this study. The first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and sketch it out. It is a vertical composition, but I'm going to have to force it into something horizontal here. I think I kind of like how it has this peak kind of in this area if we're to divide it into the rule of thirds here. Focal point maybe happening right there. And it's got a nice angle coming back down. I'm just going to leave out the tree and all that stuff. I kind of like how some of these little clouds are peeking in the corners. And we're going to have a gradient going from dark blue to lighter blue this way. This will be the big cloud mass. Some ultramarine blue. And the background value is pretty rich and dark. I might add a little bit of alizarin to make it even richer. It's definitely a richer, darker blue than this picture was. Sometimes I just kind of block in after I do my drawing and then carve into it to reshape it as I go. If I don't like the way it's looking, you know, maybe it doesn't have a good shape going on, or feels like I drew it too, needs maybe a little more variety, then I'll go ahead and cut back into it. Spritz my paint box. It's kind of feeling like it's dried out a bit. See if I can patch in a few richer, darker blues up in here. And then I think I'm gonna go ahead and just try to mix this wet into wet as I work my way down. I'm gonna let my brush strokes show so that I can kind of get that effect of the sunbeams shining down. More just a thin dry brush. While I have that value on my brush, maybe go ahead and put some of that in there. Just feel like it needs a little bit of red. Kind of feels a little too cool blue. Actually, I have this extra paper towel to wipe off the excess. I can just barely scrape in some of those beams happening up at that top area. And then I'm going to use black, might as well, to create some of that lighter area. I think before I do, I'm going to actually put the light gray underneath it and then build up darker on top. I'm going to go a little thin and just wash it in there. I'll loosely patch it in. I like that the orange is underneath, and it would be nice if some of it retained its color. Okay, now I'm going to jump over to the darker color. Get a little bit of that red, warm it up, and I think I'm going to sort of use my brush to carve to give it some sense of dimension, since it's mostly like an upshot. We're just looking straight up at this cloud and it's being lit from behind. Kind of leave some dry brushing effect happening so that the lighter color shows through. And then I can come back and build up a little bit darker. It gets pretty dark up in this area. And I'm gonna scumble and dry brush this area. I am gonna put a little bit in the corner because I don't want the eye to get drawn down there if the value's too light. We gotta keep our eye up over here, mostly. No, more blue, more black, and a little bit of this red. A little bit of water, and see what value this is. Looks about right. Maybe a little dark. It's gonna dry a little bit lighter because that's just the way gouache is. Lights dry a little darker and darks appear to dry a little bit lighter. So again, I'm gonna get my paper towel, wipe off the excess, and just carefully build in some darker layers. Maybe mix in a little bit of a lighter value as I go. I think my goal here is to work in thin dry brush layers. I'm going to try not to look at the reference too much and copy it exactly. Kind of just having fun working around this shape, kind of twisting and pulling the brush. Kind of fill that in so it carries itself down. And I'm going to build up some darker parts. Get a little more black. When I squint, the value of the cloud in the shadows is almost the same value as the sky. It's just maybe a smidgen lighter. And maybe some darker patches here. There we go. I just kind of feel like this area needs to be integrated a little bit more. It's kind of nice to bring in some of the blue to connect it to the background. Bring in a few at the bottom as well. And I think I'll leave it at that. Now to come in with some white details. I'm gonna grab kind of a thick scoop of this. And I'm gonna just come in and actually go a little bit, not as white. I wanna save my whitest white for that highlight area, the main focal points. I love how just a few little areas are catching light on that edge right there. This part is so much fun. It just sort of makes it all come together, and it might be really hard to see in the photo, but there are some bits of orange and maybe yellow catching along this ridge right here. Maybe you can see it if I hold it up closer. You can see it a little bit. So I'm gonna mix some of that in and see if I can get a sense of warmth happening down there. Maybe do a little layer of that and then put some more white on top of it. Kind of just add some of that needed warmth. There we go. And too much of that yellow in my brush, so I'm going to wipe it out. Just come back and make just a few more little white spots here and there, and then I think that's all. Maybe some down below. I feel like I could go too far with it if I keep going, because I feel like it's fun and I just want to outline the entire thing. But I'm going to try to not do that. So this is a short, quick, and easy one, relatively speaking. But there we go. Now your job is to look at this and tell me what kind of shape or character or creature it is, because all clouds can be turned into something. So to me, I kind of see a rabbit with a backpack, and these are his little paws, and he's like making a wish. I don't know. What do you think? All right, that's it. That's number 3. Thanks for watching.